Hey, I'm Henry, and are you guys in the mood for some spooky stories of questionable quality? Me too! Creepypastas, internet spooky stories. These are some of the most influential and wide reaching things that have ever been shared on the internet. From the more famous to the more infamous, let's call them. They have had a wide reach, but you don't really see any of them being talked about nowadays. I remember creepypastas being a lot more popular when I was younger, like from 2012 to 2015. Nowadays, I don't really hear about any of them anymore. Unless it's from this guy, of course. Now, why do I think creepypastas really started becoming popular in 2012? Slenderman. Ah, Slenderman, this lanky lad, this tall troublemaker, this Brobdingnagian baddie. Real word, look it up. This guy was created in 2009 by Eric Knudsen on the Something Awful forums. It was a part of a contest, a spooky photo edit one. And he took the internet a bit by storm. He spawned stories, some merch, a movie that was bad, a movie that was bad, games. He spawned a storm. Slender, the 8 pages, is probably where the character got his popularity boom. It was released in 2012 and was incredibly popular. Playing through it nowadays, though, is It's kind of like a first-person free roam Five Nights at Freddy's where there's one animatronic and the goal is to collect 8 pages. It's basic, but it was successful. And then there was Marble Hornets, an incredibly popular web series back in the day, with their character, the Operator, which, let's be real, is just Slenderman using a different name for tax evasion. Now, I do have a confession. I have not yet fully finished Marble Hornets, but what I have seen so far is very good early YouTube horror storytelling, and it still actually holds up today. Like, it's shockingly good. Now, a shocking thing to me is that there's really no official Slenderman story. Eric Knudsen made those images and gone. People have just kind of made general rules about him based on those original photos in 2009. He was creepy around kids, so his lore is that he kidnaps kids. He's tall, so he's tall, and he's a white guy. Somewhere down the line, he was given the power of teleportation. I believe that was originated in either Marble Hornets or Slender the 8 Pages. And then someone just gave him tentacles. Don't know why that was a thing. I blame anime. Now, there are 2 particularly bad years for Slenderman, 2014 and 2018. I'm going to avoid 2014. If you know why that's a bad year, you'll probably understand my willingness to avoid it. 2018 had the movie. The Slenderman movie was a hot pile of garbage I never want to revisit. The one part I liked was how they wanted Slenderman to not be just a white guy in a suit, so they kind of made him look like tree bark. It still looks dumb. The movie is still bad, but that's at least a little better than the alternative. Now let's move on from that pale white guy to this pale white guy. Oh, god damn it. Look, I'm not going to radically change anyone's world by saying this. Jeff the Killer isn't a good creepypasta. Shocker. Look, the original story, fine. I think it was originally a troll pasta anyway. The famous photograph of it, genuinely creepy. I like it. What killed this character, and I'm just going to take a shot in the dark here, was younger people. I hate to say it, I think I was part of that generation. And maybe the problem. People idolized this guy. They were like, oh, he's edgy, and I'm adult, and he's insane, and that's cool, he's a Mary Sue now. And that's what people made him, a Mary Sue. I looked on his official, creepypasta wiki page. He has the ability to dodge bullets. That's fun. People wanted him to have a connection with the spooky Slenderman. So some people say they're rivals, some people say they're teammates. That was never agreed upon. No one cares. I think even nowadays, people list Jeff the Killer as a troll pasta because he's just too ridiculous. Like, his story went from a guy that was cleaning his bathroom and accidentally got acid spill on his face, that's real, look it up, to a troubled kid who had mental issues and was bullied and then got bleach spilled on his face. Then when he saw his new face, he was like, "What? I'm insane!" And his parents were like, "Wow, that's actually normal for our kid to be like that." And then he murders people. And people idolized that second story. To be fair, though, I much prefer Jeff the Killer in the second story. I mean, it's hilarious to read it nowadays, and also to read about all his powers. Dodging bullets. He's a human. Still, though, I hold true to the fact that the best part of the Jeff the Killer mythos is the photo. Speaking of creepy photos, Smile Dog. I love Smile Dog. I can't express how much I love Smile Dog without telling you the full story, start to finish. The story is really simple, and I love it. This woman, a reporter, she goes to this guy's house, and he's like, "Look, there's haunted chain mail. You get an email with smile.jpg. And you look at it, you go insane. This dog that's smiling will haunt your dreams until you send it to someone else." It's haunted chainmail. I cannot express how much I love it. It's so dumb, but so simple, and also this image is genuinely creepy. But this image is not. This image is simple, elegant, a husky with a smile. This image is, I'm 14 and this is spooky. Let me make something very spooky, and that'll make it really spooky and not look like I'm trying too hard. That's definitely not what that image is like. Next up, Tiki Toby. Look, not all transitions can be absolute bangers. Shocking as it may seem, I don't like the story of Tiki Toby. It's Jeff the Killer, but no bleach. Tiki Toby is a guy with a speech impediment, get the joke? And because of that, he's bullied, which, hey, that's a bad thing to be bullied about. And probably the most realistic thing about this story, don't bully people over that sort of stuff. He gets in a car accident, his sister dies, yada yada yada. This is standard Creepypasta 101. He goes to therapy, sees Slenderman, goes and kills his family. What can you do? This is a spooky story on the internet. Wait a second. Yeah, this is just Jeff the Killer if Jeff the Killer didn't have bleach poured on his face. Or acid, depending on which one of the stories you read. And really, that's my main gripe with the guy. He brings nothing like unique or new to the table. He's just a guy with a stutter. And that's it. I mean, you could say him using hatchets and tomahawks is unique, but hatchets and tomahawks are just long knives. So up until this minute, I've avoided talking about a very particular type of creepypasta. Lost episodes. Or lost series. I mean, it's interchangeable. So let's talk about the most infamous one. Trigger warning, Squidward's suicide. Now, the title of this story is very serious. That's a serious matter, suicide. The contents of this story is a joke. This story is like if I took the word creepypasta, gave it to an AI to make an auto-generated story, they would spit this out. It's so much of a joke, it's actually referenced in a real episode of SpongeBob. Still can't believe that actually happened. The story goes a little something like this. This guy, right, he's an intern at Nintendo. He swears, right, it's real, it's happened. Please believe him. Anyways, he says that whenever they previewed episodes at Nickelodeon, they'd give them funny joke title cards, no matter how much of a waste of resources that is. In any case, that's just this story's excuse for why this episode's title card said Squidward's suicide. Even I would think that's a little odd, but okay. So the spooky episode starts out normally. Squidward's clarinetting around. He says, SpongeBob, go away, I got a concert tonight. Bubbles flood the screen, and he's at the concert. He does at the concert and gets booed by the crowd. And everyone boos him, even SpongeBob, with the most infamous line of all. They had hyper-realistic eyes. That line is such a joke nowadays, and I think this is the one that originated it. I sure love this creepypasta just for that. Anyways, yada yada yada, some spooky stuff happens, you know, and then Squidward takes his life. I'm sorry, what was scary about this episode again? Yeah, this one's not very spooky, unless you count mutilation. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into the details of what they mutilated or why, because it's just gross. And that's not spooky. It's not, it's, what the fuck? But this is the last episode creepypasta to make fun of. I mean, it's iconic and it's ridiculous. It's just so dumb. Now, while Squidward's suicide was terrible, Candle Cove was not. Candle Cove is an incredible creepypasta, and it's a much later one, coming out in like 2015. So you can see that the later we got, the better we got typically. Candle Cove is told as if it's a series of posts on this forum about nostalgia. I think it was called Net Nostalgia, right? And I love this because it starts out really normal. Like, it's just, oh, hey, remember this? And la la la. And then it slowly implements the scary bits a bit later. Speaking of a bit later, it's a bit later. Let's get into the creepy stuff. So people start remembering a few troubling aspects of the show. You know, the screaming episode where the child actor and all the puppets were just flailing around screaming. A character called the Skin Taker, which was a skeleton that took the skin of children. Normal things nowadays, I'm sure. I do want to bring up quickly the fan-made screaming episode. It's actually really well made, and I think it's very fun. When people go out of their ways to take something from a creepypasta like the last episode of Candle Cove and make it into a real thing, I think that's pretty fun and commendable. The story ends in a little bit of a divisive manner. Some people like how it ends and some people don't. It ends with one of the characters going up to their mom and being like, hey, do you remember the show Candle Cove at all? And she was just like, yeah, well, you used to stare at static and say, yeah, I'm watching Candle Cove. And that's the end. I like it enough. You know, what's actually fun is that the Sci-Fi Channel actually bought the rights to make a TV show out of this. Now, it's not the Candle Cove show described in the creepypasta. It's called Channel Zero Candle Cove, and it's about this guy Mike who had some bad stuff happen in his past, going back to his hometown, realizing the same stuff's happening, and he thinks it's all connected to this show only him remembers, Candle Cove. I haven't seen it yet, but it's supposed to be pretty good. Now you may notice today I focused on some pretty not great creepypastas. They were tropey, repetitive, bad, Tiki Tobies, your Jeff the Killers, your Squidward suicides. They were all just mediocre. And that's kind of just because that's what creepypastas are to me. Those are the nostalgic ones. Those are the ones that I look back on and go, wow, I liked those at a point. Sure, today there are some incredible creepypastas. Psychosis, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Those are two great examples of ones made just after that time period I laid out that are really good. Candle Cove, I'm even considering if it's an older one or a newer one, because it doesn't fit in with Smile Dog and Slenderman and all the rest. They're a mythos of their own, and I love them. They're nostalgic in a way, and I don't know how else to describe it. I love them not for the stories, but for the feelings of nostalgia and the past they evoke. Unless it's Smile Dog. I love Smile Dog. Now, do I recommend you go and read creepypastas nowadays? Yeah, sure. Whether it's a nostalgia trip, or it's to get some scares, or it's just for a fun activity to do with some friends over this Halloween season, go for it. In any case, I can be glad that there are no creepypastas based on one of my favorite things in the world, video games, right? Right?